So, Joe, as you write your check, I'm going to start the cutting. Here's David Axelrod. We're going to take off that mustache.
My gosh.
Except I've never used one of these before.
Where's Susan?
What, like,
Susan?
which side do you...
Is there a doctor in the house?
Do you go like this? That's going to be interesting.
I know.
I'll practice a little bit.
Is there insurance on this set?
Ooh, that's sharp. All right, we're going to take off his mustache for charity.
That's
He's
an awfully
walking
slow walk. Look at that.
Look,
Dead man walking.
He's not happy.
I think this is going to be okay. What do you think? Are you all right with it?
I'm going to faint.
All right, we'll also talk politics. We'll be right back.
SlashTheStash.com. Mika and I are going to raise $1 million.
Yep. We need $1 million.
Cure. We're going to raise $1 million, and after you get $1 million for epilepsy research and cure, you're going to cut your mustache off here on Morning Joe. Deal?
Oh, wow. Say goodbye. This is going to be weird.
It is going to be a little strange.
How do you think I feel?
David Axelrod is with us. I asked if there's anything I could do for him right now. He said, "Do you have a Xanax?" So we are here, of course, with David Axelrod, along with Donnie Deutsch and Mark McKinnon still with us. So let's talk really quickly about the people that have stepped forward. Of course, President Obama gave a very generous contribution, as did his close personal friend, Donald Trump.
Yes.
Donald Trump.
Who actually was one of the first to step up and contribute in a really big way. Mark Cuban. Contributed in a real way. Our good friend Yusef contributed. And
Haim Saban.
And
what is this? This is incredible.
Senator Cole, a founding member.
Yes, he was one of our early supporters. Great guy, great friend.
Tom Hanks, our dear friend Carole King, also George Clooney.
Nice.
And you say, and we thank them for all of their generosity here. But you say, beyond that, what really moved you were people that couldn't afford to give the big checks, but gave smaller checks and just wrote you the most heartfelt notes.
It was extraordinary. You know, we have more than 2,500 contributors to Slash the Stash, and a lot of them were people who've been impacted by epilepsy, who have family members, often children impacted by epilepsy, who've lost loved ones. 50,000 a year die from epilepsy, and their notes would move you to tears. This has just been what started as kind of a lark when you and I, when I made an educated bet on the election and you made a foolish one.
Oh, and, he's going to go
Florida.
there.
And now,
just Florida, really.
Florida
was
let me just
close.
say, what does it say that the former congressman from Florida got Florida wrong?
Well, I always say, if Republicans are going to lose Florida, we're in big trouble. And
yeah, I know. I should not be saying these things when this man is going to be around my throat with a straight razor.
I know.
Well, do we use this or do we use the electric? I've never done this
before.
We've
been getting the lip, now we're going to see the lip. Someone suggested a riding mower.
Has NBC Council been talked to about this?
No, I don't think they know about it.
Liabilities.
Mika and Willie and I operate under the belief that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So, David, let's talk politics for 1 second. Well, Mika practices the blade. Practices with a blade. All right,
you're making me awfully nervous.
So I was really heartened yesterday. The president telling some American people he was with that he felt good, that he thought that they were going to make a deal. John Boehner asked to go one-on-one. The president said sure. I think these are really positive developments.
Yeah, I hope and I believe that to be the case. Look, I don't think anybody wants to go over the cliff. And there are reasonable answers to this. There are much more complicated problems than this problem.
Right.
And everyone knows sort of the parameters of the answer. And the question is whether we can get there.
Pretty close. And also we've got both sides talking about, John Boehner said this a day or two ago. I thought it was telling. He said all of our money is going to come from the rich. As far as the taxes go, they're of course not talking about raising the rates.
Right.
They're trying to close
we have to resolve that question.
Right, exactly. That's a big question to resolve. But at least both sides are talking about taking money from the same pot,
Yes,
so to
yes.
speak.
Well, look, we're obviously light years ahead of where we were before the election.
Yeah.
Elections have consequences. That's the great thing about democracy, and I think you're seeing the impact of what happened on November 6th.
David, I know you campaigned on raising rates, but if you get the revenue, why is there a fixation on
the problem is you can't get the revenue, Mark. You can't get the revenue that is necessary simply by closing loopholes for the wealthy, and what's important here is that we solve the problem, and we do it in a balanced way.
Do you know how much you get because if we're talking about math, as the president said to Bloomberg a couple of days ago, then math is math.
Math is math.
It's not ideology here. So can you tell us how far we can get going John Boehner's way? Have you guys figured that out? Because you say we can't get to, you're saying 1.6. We all believe it's going to end up around 1.2. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not a budget expert. My sense is that closing the deductions and leaving off the table, some of the things that people will want to leave off, the charitable or so on.
Right.
I mean, you're not talking. We think we need 1.6 trillion in revenue over the next 10 years, and this would not even get us halfway there. I mean, the 800 that Speaker Boehner's talking about would not be satisfied by simply closing deductions, and they have not identified the 800. How they would get to the 800 billion. So look, there are very smart people who are meeting and talking about this, and I'm encouraged that that's going on.
David, what is it? The good news is that Speaker Boehner and the president are getting a room together. What does that actually look like? I mean, well, seriously.
What do you mean?
No, I mean, you have these two guys in the room. Are there other aides with it? Is it the two of them? Does the president go in and open up with a remark? Like when the two leaders get in a room,
I think that
take
they're
us
having
inside the room as best as you
No,
can.
I think they're having. Well, I think they're having conversations by themselves, and then their aides go and act on what they.
Do they both go into that room basically with a number where there is there any flexibility for them?
Let me say.
Room?
At this point, I think both the president and the speaker are very fluent in the basic numbers. They've been living with them for some time now. So as I said, I don't think that there's a lot of mystery about this. The politics has to be traversed. They've got to get through the rocky shoals of Grover Norquist and all those folks.
And you have to get through the rocky shoals of Nancy Pelosi.
Well,
when you start
but you know what? My sense
entitlement.
is that you see Democrats who are, I think, talking very realistically about what needs to be done. On entitlements, I think the question isn't whether we have to do something about Medicare, it's how we do something about Medicare.
So wouldn't that be, and maybe it's naive of me to even bring this up, but wouldn't that be important for them to take on what those are together and shoulder to shoulder?
Well, look, I remember last summer when the president said to Boehner, essentially, let's lock arms and jump off the, at that point it was a different kind of cliff together, but it's going to require both leaders. Each is going to have to make sacrifices in order to get this done, and I think that I think everybody recognizes the consequences of not getting it done.
So how do you tell Republicans that won't support a tax increase unless they believe entitlement reform's coming? How do you do a deal before the end of the year while having Republicans having the confidence that the president will step forward with real entitlement?
Well, first of all, obviously, in order to solve the problem and achieve the $4 trillion in savings, you're going to have to do a balanced package, including all of these things. And there are ways, I'm sure, Joe, and you're knowledgeable in these things, but
I doubt it.
Well, you pretend to be knowledgeable in these things.
I get paid to pretend.
Okay.
There are ways to set targets and have alternative things happen.
Right.
If those targets aren't hit, I think there are a variety of approaches to this. So, yes.
Here's one approach.
How does that one work?
That looks better to me than the razor.
Maybe I'll do
I'm
that.
going to make a suggestion, a marketing suggestion. I would go with the Norelco or whatever.
We're going to do that.
Okay.
I think so. Mark McKinnon again.
Well, in full disclosure, are they a client of yours?
No.
So here's a solution, David. How about if the targets are generally in the right area, and I think there's general agreement about what those revenue targets and cut targets are, why don't we let the president just identify the cuts and let Boehner identify the revenue?
Huh.
Can I answer that for you?
Yes.
Because John Boehner is going to focus more, based on his first offer, on discretionary spending. It's like we said before. Do you really want to slash transportation, education?
You know, Joe,
R&D,
I got to tell you something.
You don't have the courage to go after the entitlement programs. And I say this, as you know, to my Republican Party as well as to your Democratic Party.
Yeah, no, I was kind of, as frightening as this whole mustache thing was, sitting in the green room and listening to you and agreeing with you so wholeheartedly.
Disturbed you, didn't it?
I know what we can't do is eat our seed corn.
Right.
And, you know, education, research and development, energy, these are things that are central to our ability to grow the economy, to prepare people for a new economy.
David, such a small part of the budget.
I understand. But you see, here's what's going on. There are two kinds of approaches to this. The one approach says we've got this deficit problem and we want to address it. The other is the Norquist approach, which is really more about reducing government to its irreducible core. And that is an indiscriminate sort of slashing. And that's the wrong path for the country. And that's the path we can't take.
Things have changed so much since I was
They
on
gotta do it
Mark.
together.
You talk about discretionary versus mandatory. I mean, when I was there back in the 90s, you could actually go after discretionary spending and move towards a balanced budget. We're way past that now. You're talking about 11% for domestic discretionary spending. That means everything outside of defense, outside of Medicare, outside of Medicaid, outside of Social Security. That's about 85% of the budget.
And we just made some pretty deep cuts last year.
Right. So when you have a party saying we're going to balance the budget by going after education, transportation, R&D, energy, you're basically going after your seed corn. While China is doubling on education, China is doubling down on R&D, China is doubling down on energy research. We can't do that for economic reasons.
Right.
I like winning.
Budget is about policy, and it creates your priorities.
The other thing is there is a big economic issue beyond jobs and beyond the deficits, and that is how do we create an economy in which the middle class is growing, in which people work hard and can get ahead. And all the things that you mentioned are important to that task. So we can't give up on
Two
it.
other points also. If by going after discretionary, that's just another form of kicking the can down the road. You know, if you're not going to invest in education, if you're not going to invest in the future, that is no different than not attacking the
Can I also tell you it's also being a doctor. I always talk about being a doctor that opens up a patient, sees cancer, closes up, because you're fine. Yeah. It's also a doctor that decides that they're going to take off a wart here instead of taking the cancer, because our good friend Erskine Bowles says, just this year alone, every dime Washington took in went to pay off Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security,
that's why
and servicing the debt. You've got to go after entitlements in a way that save entitlements.
Joe, yes, David, this one question.
I just want to make a quick point on what you've been raising. This is the point, is that if you just do rates, you don't really get the rich, because the rich have the loopholes. So that's why I'm suggesting the New York Times raises that point today that says that a close look at the president's plan shows that a large majority of families making up to $300,000, as well as hundreds of thousands of families with even larger incomes, would not pay taxes at a higher marginal rate.
Well, we can, but obviously it'll be a combination of the two. The rates will get you part of the way. Yeah. The deductions will get you the rest.
We're going to save your question because we have to make a simulcast with the Today Show work. When we come back,
slash it, baby.
Everybody's going to see this. David Axelrod's 40-year-old mustache coming off. They're getting the stuff ready for us, Joe. People are lining up to be a part of hair history. The Today Show jumping in. Donald Trump getting a piece of the action. It's all happening next on Morning Joe. I still don't understand. Do I go right or left? Do I cut in? I don't get it.